Hello movie Barfs, and welcome back to the channel. Before I saw Creed 2, I honestly wasn't expecting much. Anyone who's seen the Rocky franchise would know that the franchise has become stale and formulaic with carbon copy sequels. We're pretty much eating the same dish with a different flavor at this point. And just like its previous entries, Creed 2 doesn't have much plot. The film isn't driven by the story, but instead by its character development. The main plot is pretty much Creed getting the crap beaten out of him by Drago, he trains harder, and then goes back to beat Drago. The end. But surprisingly, I found Creed 2 to be more than just a mindless boxing film. Well, the boxing is still mindless and unrealistic, but the main difference that Creed 2 has compared to its previous entries is that it presents a sympathetic antagonist. And that antagonist comes in the form of Victor Drago, the son of Ivan Drago, who caused the death of Creed's father Apollo some decades earlier. Creed, being the protagonist, wants to maintain his champion status and to get some payback for his father's death. Victor Drago wants to overthrow him and take his place. They have directly conflicting goals that can only be resolved by clashing with each other in the ring. But over the course of the film, we start to see more behind Victor Drago's motivation. Yes, there is the obvious benefit of the much-needed money that being the champion will bring, since Victor and his dad are still working menial labor jobs. But more than that, Victor is fighting for a much deeper reason. He's fighting for acceptance. Acceptance in every sense of the word. He feels that he needs to be the champion to earn the love of his father, and the acceptance of his mother, who abandoned the family after Ivan's loss to Rocky. And also his country, which exiled him and his dad. But not only that, it seems that he feels the need to become the champion to accept himself. Being the son of Drago, he wants to reach the same heights his father did and not to suffer the same fate as him. And we, as the audience, are able to empathize with his motivation, and we're able to root for him although he's supposedly the villain. This isn't something we usually see in Rocky's opponents. Other than Apollo Creed, the opponents are mostly one-dimensional, generic bad guys written with no deeper layers of complexity. Just look at Clubber Lang, Ivan Drago, Tommy Gunn, and even Ricky Conlon from the previous movie. Victor Drago is a complex character, and I, like many others, found myself to be rooting for him to win in the fights. The writers made him sympathetic so that we'll take pity on the character, a technique in storytelling called kicking the dog. Coincidentally, Ivan Drago compares both him and his son to Ukrainian stray dogs in his speech to Rocky in this film. He's basically been kicked around and rejected all his life, making us feel sorry for him. We want to see him break out of this cycle of tough luck. But other than that, the reason I wanted Drago to win was because of how unlikable the filmmakers made Adonis out to be. He was like a spoiled brat, childish and impatient, not wanting to touch gloves and disrespecting his trainer. He still talks like a brash young punk, compared to the slick charisma that his father Apollo had. He was arrogant and cocky, even when his ass was being handed to him in the first fight. And there is hardly any character development for him. He pretty much ends the film as the same character he was when he began. We have a moment where he visits his father's grave and has a monologue about how he didn't do it for him, but this was already better done in the first film, and let's face it, he only went there because he won the fight. If he'd lost, he'd probably lose his sense of self-worth and become all jaded and resentful again. Unfortunately, the film doesn't explore such a theme and leaves us with a very unlikable protagonist. Part of me wishes that Victor hadn't landed that illegal punch that disqualified him from being the clear winner. The movie could just as easily been Drago's movie instead, since it feels like he's the one we should be rooting for. And on a side note, the boxing here is just as unrealistic as ever. In the first fight, the referee should have stopped it long before and gave Drago the technical knockout victory. Any one of those punches could have been knockout punches in real life, and there's no way Creed and Drago would be allowed to fight in the same weight class. Dude looks like he's a foot taller with a 50-pound weight advantage. Predictably, Creed wins at the end as expected, although he clearly shouldn't have been able to with the broken ribs. While I would have liked to see Drago win for the previously mentioned reasons, and also to see what a loss would do to Adonis Creed's character arc, I have to say that Drago losing was the right way to go. Him losing the fight was the best way to complete his character arc. If Drago won the fight, yeah, it would have been a dream come true. He and his dad would have finally regained the respect they'd been fighting for, but it would all be based on his achievement in the ring. So when the tides turned and Victor was now the one getting pummeled by Adonis, we see Ivan's ex-wife getting up to leave, showing just how conditional her acceptance of her son is. And here we see the absolute sorrow and disappointment on Victor's face, one of the rare instances of the stoic giant showing some emotion. He's absolutely crushed and devastated, having to relive his abandonment once again, this time with an audience of millions watching. It looks as if he almost lost the will to get back up and fight at this point. To save his son from getting seriously hurt, Ivan decides to throw in the towel. Yeah, it was corny as heck, but at the same time it was poetic, given that another towel was thrown too late over 30 years ago. Side note, the referees in the Rocky series are all useless and should be fired. But the important thing was that it showed that Ivan cares more about his son than his external accomplishments. And even when things settled down, he didn't blame Victor for losing or showed any form of disappointment towards him. He simply embraced him as his son and consoled him, accepting him unconditionally, something that we as the audience have never seen before. And that's why, from a storytelling perspective, as much as we wanted him to win, Victor had to lose to complete his story arc. It was the only way for Ivan to demonstrate his unconditional acceptance of his son, and for Ivan to see that he means more than a championship belt to his dad. Having the audience torn between wanting him to win, while at the same time conceding that he has to lose, was what makes him the most compelling villain of the Rocky and Creed franchises. It's also what gives this formulaic sequel some much-needed fresh air. Both Creed and Rocky also have some story elements of father-son reconciliation in this movie too, but at this point, I feel their character arcs are complete, and there's nothing more to tell about them. I don't think we need a Creed 3, but the cash cow will continue to be milked. Well, that's all for now, folks. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out some of our other videos too.